guys, living life in the light. This is AP Hill. You find me on all the social media sites at hashtag what is recovery or hashtag living life in the light. And I just kind of wanted to talk about something that occurred to me as far as creating constructive habits. And I think that, you've heard me talk about coping skills and positive and maladaptive ones. Now, when it concerns maladaptive methods of coping with stress, anxiety, depression, or co-occurring substance abuse problems, I don't think it can be stressed enough. These are learned behaviors. We have tricked our brains into believing that harming ourselves is actually going to help us. I'm so much more myself after a couple of drinks, or a couple of Xanax, or a line of cocaine, or when I'm shopping, or when I'm at the craps table, or the slot machines, or when I'm all by myself, what have you. We all employ methods of coping with the stress in our lives. And the fact is that not all of them are going to be conducive to long-term growth, development, and potential for success. Bottom line. So, what are some methods that we can employ to make sure we're building healthy, constructive habits? I want you to do this little exercise with me and see what you can come up with.
Okay, we're going to do a little exercise here. First of all, I want you to identify 3 coping skills you use as your go-to to deal with stress. Next, I want you to take these 3 coping mechanisms and apply a point system to it. 1 being the least effective, 10 being the most effective. And be honest with yourself. Take a good hard look and tell yourself what. Now identify 2 constructive coping skills you've learned so far. It could be through your therapist, through a hospital stay. It could be from this blog. Now, if you were to give yourself a pep talk, what's the one thing you could say to yourself that would fire you up more than anything else? What motivates you?
So yeah, I would like you to take those questions seriously. Write it out in a list. And it's a countdown. It's a 3, 2, 1. And write those things out and see if it doesn't add a little more positive habit to your situation and give you something to think about and thinking a little more positively than negative self-talk, because that's what we're really trying to combat. Now, something I wanted to mention, I mentioned on Facebook in a post a while back that it was something that Deepak Chopra said. And for those of you not familiar with Deepak Chopra, he's a philosopher, psychologist, therapist, kind of guru. But and there's his detractors, as there is with anybody. But essentially, the point that I was trying to make was I was listening to a tape of him with Wayne Dyer, and they were doing a symposium together. And Deepak got up there and he talked about the universe, universe, one song. And he said that he spoke about the fact that there exists a gap between our thoughts, a gap between where one thought ends and another begins. And he says no matter how infinitesimal that gap may be in size, because your thoughts just run straight together, especially if they're racing, no matter how small that is, that the gap still exists. And he says inside that gap is a field of infinite possibility. And so he said this is the mechanism.
Step 1 is through mindfulness, meditation, or prayer, accessing the gap that exists between your thoughts, gaining access. Step 2 is to form the desire for what it is that you want. Step 3 is let go or release your attachment to the outcome of the matter. And the final step, let the universe handle the details. It's handling these details on a daily basis in billions of different ways.
So basically what it boils down to is, in order to recover fully, or to reach a level of recovery that is sustainable, we have to retrain or rewire our brains, our minds, our hearts, and our spirits. And the only way to do that is through repetition. Doing it over and over and over. Just like working a muscle. It's not so much the weight, it's the reps that you do. Do you, or are you, willing to put forth the effort it takes and practice these things?
First, we have to practice rigorous honesty. Practice it like working out a muscle. Being honest in all of our affairs. Being honest with others and, most importantly, with ourselves. Next, we need to try and be mindful. Mindfulness has to do with being present in the moment, not being wrapped up in anxiety and depression because of the past or the future. This next one is a doozy. Medication adherence. Do you know what medication you're on? Do you know what it's supposed to treat? Do you know what the side effects are? Do you know the dosage? Do you know when you're supposed to take it? These are things that you need to know in order to maintain a proper, sober mentality. Next, we have a pretty big one also, abstaining from substances. Now, it's debatable about marijuana. There are any number of people in numerous programs who believe there must be complete and utter abstinence of all substances, including marijuana. I don't happen to belong to that camp, and that's why I don't hang out in anonymous groups. Then we have to make it our job to start building these healthy routines, these constructive routines, these better coping skills. It's our job to implement those, or else we'll slip back into our old habits. And last but not least, setting SMART goals. Specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-bound. Building the small goals and going from there.
So seriously, ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself, because those are the things that you will need in order to be well on your way into recovery. And if you don't have the wherewithal or the guts or the constitutional capability to be honest with yourself and others, then maybe you're better off in your maladaptive modes of coping. But if you feel like you're bound and determined, you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, then try a different way. And I'm using all the means at my disposal to expose you to this information, and I hope that it helps. That's my ultimate goal. I hope it helps. So anyway, I'm going to go for now, and I hope to see you soon.